Hey y'all, today we're gonna braise collard greens together. To braise my version of collard greens, you need some collard greens, an onion, garlic cloves, a smoked ham hock, whole black peppercorns, bay leaves, salt, pepper, water, and a little brown sugar. For a full list of ingredients, check the description below. The first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make a smoked ham hock stock. This is how I would cook my greens at home. And it's a little bit of a labor of love because you do roll the stock and you have to wait a couple hours, but I think it's worth it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm cutting a half of a yellow onion very roughly, and then all this stuff is just gonna go into a pot together. So rough chop onion, boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna dump maybe like a half teaspoon of black peppercorns in here, whole, 2 or 3 bay leaves. I'm going to smash, just to release the flavor, 3 garlic cloves. These are already peeled into the pot. And then I have a whole smoked ham hock. If you don't eat pork, you could use a smoked turkey wing or smoked turkey neck. That would work just as well. If you don't eat meat at all, then just leave it out, and you can even just use like a veggie base with water. Save yourself the time. So I'm gonna turn this over a high flame. I have all my ingredients in. I'm adding 2 quarts of water, and then once this comes up to a boil, I'm actually gonna turn it down and let it simmer for 3 hours. Okay, so while my ham hock stock is boiling, simmering actually, I'm gonna show you all how to clean collard greens properly. First thing I'm gonna do is these very stocky ends, I'm gonna cut a few inches off. I mean, they're delicious, they're just gonna take extra long to braise. So I'm just gonna go up the middle a little bit on the bottom of each stalk. And that's just gonna break it up so it's easier. It'll cook kind of more evenly. If you don't like the stems at all, then just remove the leaves from the stems, but I think the stems are delicious, and why waste it? So I'm not going all the way up because I don't need to. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna roll this up, and I'm gonna do about an inch all the way up. And then up here where the leaves get a little wider, I'll go vertically and then keep going. And even though like these came clean already, I can still feel a little bit of the sand. So this is the key part. Get some cold water. You don't need this much. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. Get them in there. Swish them around. Make sure you get all of the dirt out of there. It feels like most of the grit is gone. You need to take the greens and pull them out, because what's happening is all the dirt's settling to the bottom. So if you were to take this and pour it, you're just basically pouring the dirt back onto the greens. So I'm lifting the greens out of the water, and then I'm leaving all the dirt in the water. So that's how you clean greens. Okay, so I've been rolling my ham hock stock for about 3 hours. The hock is pretty tender and falling apart, which is what you want, because this is going to be the meat part of your collard greens. I'm going to set that on the board, strain this just because we don't want to bite into those whole peppercorns and bay leaves later. And you probably will have extra stock, which is a good thing. Throw that in the freezer for your beans or your gumbo or whatever. So I got that strained. I got some nice hot stock here. I'm gonna set that aside. This bone is just coming right out of there now. And now you have all these yummy smoked meaty parts. And then this, I'm just gonna chop up very loosely. If you don't want to go through the trouble of doing the whole ham hock and the ham hock stock, you could just start your collard greens with just bacon and bacon fat and use water or chicken broth. I love the richness of this stock, and then you get to play with the ham hock. That's fun. The fatty skin, I'll probably throw in the pot first to render. Into a bigger pot, I'm gonna start off with the high flame, and I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of canola oil. You could also start with lard or bacon fat if you have it, just for added flavor. And then to that, I'm gonna add about 1.5 cups of diced yellow onion, and we're gonna just get that sauteing. Okay, so my onions have a little bit of color. My flame's still pretty high. I have the fatty skin. I'm just gonna render that a little bit first. Then I'm gonna add my chopped meat. And this is all really just for flavor. It's about the greens, right? All right, oh man, this looks good. All right, so I'm adding my collard greens. It's hard to say because wherever you buy your collard greens from, the bunches are all different sizes. But this is probably about 6 quarts chopped. And if you add, I'm gonna lower this down a little bit. If you add this a little at a time, it doesn't, doesn't look like it's gonna fit, but it'll fit because the greens are gonna cook down a lot. Make sure you don't burn on the bottom of your pot. And it's okay if after you clean your greens, if they're a little bit wet, because you're gonna braise them in stock anyway. And we're just gonna keep stirring this until you get it all in there, looking really sexy. So I got all the greens into the pot. I'm gonna season with some stock. Right now I'm adding about 1 cup. I'm not gonna add all of it right now because I don't want soupy greens. And I'm just gonna stir this in here. This is gonna take a while because you really want those greens tender. I'm gonna season with about 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm gonna stir that in, and then I'm gonna cover it and let it go for a while. Let's check this in about 15 minutes over medium flame. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes over medium flame. Whew. Looking good. The greens obviously will get darker as you cook them. I'm gonna test a piece of stem to see where we're at. Come on, stem. Not quite. I'm adding about another 1/2 cup of my ham hock broth. And at this point, we're probably gonna go another 15 minutes just to get it nice and tender. So I'm gonna add a little more salt, 1/2 teaspoon, a little more pepper. I'm not making these spicy. And then I'm gonna add about 1/2 teaspoon of brown sugar. And what that's gonna do is make the collards a little less bitter. I'm gonna stir this together. We'll go another 15, and then I think they'll be done. Okay, so I've gone another 15 minutes. Oh yeah, I can tell just by looking at these that they're ready. They've darkened. They've gotten, they've shrunken down a little bit, but you can see how you can just see that it's tender. So I'm gonna turn this off. Braise probably a total of 30 to 35 minutes. I'm gonna give it a little taste before I take it out of the pot. Oh my God. That's perfect. Oh man. That is the goods. There's a little bit of the broth at the bottom, which I like. I like to eat mine just like this. It's porky, it's smoky. It's tender. Delicious. Bon appetit.